How on earth just touching this water behind me can result in death? Now that's not me being sensational, that's the reality of Lough Neagh here in Northern Ireland. Now, if you follow my channel a lot, and by the way, thank you for liking, subscribing and hitting that bell icon for all my videos, but you'll know we go to Disney, we're in Florida quite a bit, and Florida has, well, probably more open freshwater lakes and bodies of water than any other place I know, and they're deadly also, but for a completely different reason. Of course, there you're thinking about snakes and poisonous spiders and of course the famous Floridian alligator, but right here it's not so much a living creature as it is living bacteria. Lough Neagh, the largest freshwater lake anywhere in the UK or Ireland, and in fact one of the largest freshwater lakes, we call them lochs here, anywhere in Europe, you would think would be a thriving tourist destination, given that in the context of the size of Northern Ireland, this loch is huge. If you've ever looked at a map of Northern Ireland, you see that big body of water bang in the middle. It straddles 4 different district council areas, and 5 of Northern Ireland's 6 counties have shores on the loch. But despite all of that, this place is largely a ghost town. And it never has been anything really other than that, but particularly in the last few years, things have got even worse here, to the point where creatures are dying in the lake. Even dogs, horses and other animals that have come into contact with Lough Neagh have died as a consequence. And the real fear is that now humans coming into contact with the deadly bacteria which is in this water behind me could suffer serious illnesses, everything from dizziness to diarrhea, severe vomiting, right through to effects on your nervous system, liver damage and even brain damage and death. How in hell did this happen, and how was it allowed to happen? Well, come with me today for a little walk around Oxford Island. I'm here in the County Armagh end of Lough Neagh, and I'll tell you a little bit about what we know about the situation here, and I'll give you a little bit of a look around as well. Well, you gotta feel sorry for the poor ducks down here on the shoreline. You can just see the thick, nasty sludge that's washing up right across Lough Neagh at the moment. They look absolutely miserable. And they're the lucky ones because they're alive, of course. So many pets, even horses, have had their deaths linked to coming into contact with the water down here on Lough Neagh. Never mind the countless other fish and wildlife around this huge open water lake that have also died as a result of whatever the hell this is. We obviously know where it's come from, or where it's largely responsible for coming from, but this is how it manifests here on the shoreline. And what probably doesn't do what you're seeing here justice, if that's the right word, is the stench and the smell of this too. It's one thing to look at, and obviously I'm not going any further to come into contact with this for the reasons we've discussed, but the stench right here at the moment as well is just sickening. I mean, this poor duck looks physically ill. Yeah, it is. He's hobbling. And the whole time I've been here, I've spotted the first reference to the water quality issue, and it's just kind of on this random sign that's been screwed in at the bottom of this tree, which isn't even that easy to see. And it talks about the blue-green algae blooms, they call it. Let's be honest, it's bacteria. Do not eat fish from the lake, do not drink water, avoid skin contact. And it says that there may be affected blooms of blue-green algae. Well, we know there is during prolonged sunshine, and it tells you that it can cause illness such as skin rashes, eye irritation, vomiting, fever, diarrhea, damage to the liver and the nervous system as well. Pretty much, you know, it's being a little bit kind. You can basically die if you were to go and come into contact with this, prolonged contact. You could get brain damage, you could actually die, and as I say, many animal fatalities have been linked to this issue out here, which seems to be just subtly referenced below this tree. So who's to blame for this becoming a deadly, toxic body of water plumped in the middle of Northern Ireland? Well, not one person specifically. This problem isn't really a new one, it's just gotten worse in the last few years. For 50 odd, maybe even more years, there's been algae detected in the water down here. It's just gotten so much bad. You consider Northern Ireland's unstable political situation with lack of government and leadership throughout most of those years, and then you add in the unvetted ability for farm waste, given that there's so much in the way of farmland around this huge loch, and it is huge. It's 20 miles long and about 10 miles wide. So much in the way of raw sewage pouring into this body of water, but also that huge industrial farm waste. Add all that to a sustained period of time and a complete lack of local leadership, probably no accountability, and you now have the situation that we've got today where this place is absolutely toxic. I mean, those poor little baby ducklings swimming around in that. Can't be good, like, can it? Such a shame. Now, blue-green algae is a collection of microscopic little organisms, and they're naturally present in lakes and lochs like this one. And under certain conditions, the blue-green algae becomes abundant in the water, particularly in shallow, more undisturbed areas of water that receive quite a bit of sunlight. So Lough Neagh is a breeding ground for this kind of stuff, given what's being pumped into the water. And the blue-green algae can form then blossoms that discolour the water, and this leaves these floating mats of, well, sludge and scum all over the surface of the water, as you can see. And the algae, well, it's bacteria, isn't it? And it can cause irritation to the skin, it can cause sickness, but it can even be a huge risk to the pets and the livestock that come into touch with this. In fact, as I said earlier, some deaths of wildlife and pets have been linked to this. We have another water advisory sign down this end saying about the blue and green algae blooms. The bacteria, the deadly bacteria is what you mean. And it's asking us to stop the spread of zebra mussels and aquatic weeds. And this boat over here behind me is trawling all this yucky sea moss from the water and up here onto the slipway. I'm not sure where it goes after that. I wouldn't like to think. And it's coming up to this time of year when the weather's set to get a little bit warmer in Northern Ireland. Things could go from bad to worse down here on the loch. That's the kind of conditions perfect for the algae. It loves nothing more than warmer temperatures. Now, there is some good news to report, and that's that the river associations around Lough Neagh are coming together, and they've decided to form a new group, and the group aims to conserve, protect and enhance the waterways that feed in to Lough Neagh. So there is action happening on the ground to try to address the problem down here. It's just a case of what real powers will they be able to do. It's a huge undertaking. Again, it keeps coming back to the size and the scale of Lough Neagh in comparison to Northern Ireland. It takes up a big chunk of the country itself. So it's going to be a huge undertaking for this new agency, but they are coming together, and there are people with their boots on the ground that are taking much needed action. You can see for yourself here just how disgusting and even frothy, foamy the water is here. I mean, can you just imagine being in among that? I mean, it's yuck. Yuck. I think to people from other places, and even locally down the road, Lough Erne, some of the great lakes and lochs of Ireland and Scotland, the Lake District in Windermere, and they've built up entire communities and industries around those lochs and those open bodies of water. Down here, it's a different story. All around the shoreline, you'll see innocent enough little pipes like this leading out into the water, but it's the sheer quantity of these pipes and the accumulation of the sewerage and the farm waste that's been dumped out in here to the water for decades without being properly treated and managed is the reason why we see this mess that Lough Neagh's now in today. Beggars belief that over 40% of Northern Ireland's drinking water supply comes out of here at Lough Neagh. Now, of course, by the time it reaches our tap, it's perfectly suitable for consumption. But you can't help but think, given what we've seen here today, about the work that must go on in turning that water around and getting it from the sludge here on the shores of Lough Neagh into our drinking taps is a little bit mind-boggling and a wee bit unnerving, actually. Now, Oxford Island is around Kinnego Bay. It's quite a huge area actually to cover. We're here at the Welcome Centre, which we're going to check out next. But they've got these big meadows down here we'll have a look at, and there's a bit of a marina around here as well. And I also have to laugh at this. There is a little bit of irony here in asking us to respect the countryside and its wildlife. We'll say nothing about that. So I'm going to pop inside the Welcome Centre and take a look around. I've never been in here before. I'm intrigued as to see how they lay this out, given everything we know about what's been in the news about Lough Neagh in the last number of years. This, of course, is going to be interesting to see how they, I suppose, put a spin on what's happening out there on the water. Do they even try to? Is it largely ignored? Or how do they handle what's pretty much a crisis down here on the shores? We'll go in and have a wee nosy. Yeah, it feels like they've kind of given up a wee bit in here. Dirty walls and bits of wire where something used to hang. Out-of-date props, exhibition stands that look like they're about 30 years old, and even here just like closed up doors tied together. Now so far, no reference to the algae. There is a toilet ahead, so I'm going to make use of that. A little bit odd, but okay. There is a little cafe in here I see today and Tuesday. I'm here on a Monday. It's only doing coffees. It's open to 4 every other day. So we'll take a little look and head back to, I'm guessing, a 1980s canteen. Yeah, I definitely wasn't wrong. Well, the visitor centre certainly feels like it's seen better days, that's for sure. I kind of feel a wee bit sorry for it because a lot of potential there, a lot of potential as we've talked about down at Lough Neagh, but it's just not there anymore, or certainly at the moment. That place, you know, could do with so much more in the way of a bit of love and attention. On the plus side, I did meet 2 lovely ladies working in the canteen, so a shout out for them. They were very nice to me and are doing a great job in there. So shout out for the ladies in the canteen. But I think generally you can see as a tourist, as somebody coming down to Lough Neagh, maybe not familiar with what's going on down here at the moment, you would probably be very disappointed by that visitor attraction if you were expecting anything more than what I just showed you. That was pretty much it. I think a lot of it's just closed up and out of use, and it's a shame because it's the summer holidays in Northern Ireland, and it's just a real shame to see this place. A bit breezy obviously here today, but it's not a bad day and it's not actually that cold either, but so much potential. Right here they've probably got one of the most pointless things you can have in Ireland, a sundial. It looks great on the one day the sun shines, and also that would need to be in the summer because it says here that they have the sundial set in a way that the time will be correct during the summer. Of course, we've got daylight savings in the UK and Ireland, so the time is out by an hour half the year, even if the sun was to shine, which it very rarely does. And it tells you here, when the sun is shining, stand facing north towards Lough Neagh with your feet on either side of the central line, and the shadow here on the picture should tell you what time it is. Some families out having a picnic. There is a play park over here as well. I would suggest, given everything we've talked about, you know, if you do have kids, it's worth keeping an eye on them because they could just easily go over here to the water's edge and accidentally come into contact with that. Just here on the shoreline, they've got this piece of ceramic artwork. It says it was funded by Comic Relief, and it's to remember one's love during the COVID pandemic from 2020 to 2021. 22, and there's even a few little photographs in here as well. Now there is a bit of a breeze sweeping across the loch today, so that's why the water looks a little bit choppy and maybe even a bit deeper than it actually really is. It's actually quite shallow here around the shoreline. Even as you move out into the main sort of body of the loch, it's only about 30 feet, and at its very deepest away out the under, it's about 80 feet deep. That's about 25 meters or so. Of course, there's loads of little islands. You can see one here not too far off the shoreline from where I'm standing. Coney Island, Rams Island, and Derrywara Island, just some of the islands dotted throughout. As we saw earlier, loads of families down here. It is the summer holidays in Northern Ireland, where the kids are off for 2 months, and this seems like a great place to bring the kids. There is a park, and there's that nearby visitor centre and a marina nearby. My concern would just be with kids coming down to the shoreline. They have that tendency, they want to get in the water, they want to get among the water, they want to get down here. We've got a little pebble beach where I'm standing right now. I would just be worried that anything they would touch down here, stones, rocks, even some of the you can see it's being washed ashore, this kind of green sea moss, could all be contaminated, and you would just need to keep an eye on your kids and certainly an eye on your pets as well. Well, over here they've got one portaloo, and I'm guessing in and around these nettles is what used to be the actual toilets down here. I'm guessing these aren't open anymore. What a shock. Some nice artwork was done once upon a time on these walls here. Wasps or bumblebees. But sadly, nature has taken over this wee corner. Well, we know the reason why Lough Neagh has turned into largely a toxic-ridden bacterial swamp is because of the sewerage and the farm waste. But how has it not been dealt with? Well, as we mentioned, it hasn't been dealt with because it hasn't been tackled politically for the best part of 5 decades. And also what you might not know, in addition to the fact that the loch has shores in the areas of 4 different district councils and 5 of Northern Ireland's 6 counties, so it's hard sometimes to align, I guess, accountability when you consider that. But also, you add on the top that this actual body of water is privately owned, but at least the base and the soil is owned by Nicholas Ashley Cooper. Do you know who that is? No, me neither, before I read up on him. He is the 12th Earl of Shaftesbury, and for hundreds of years this has been passed down through the generations and is actually privately owned. Now, he's recently spoke about, and not least because of the controversy surrounding Lough Neagh, about actually selling it off and finally getting rid of it. A little bit, maybe too much heat round the Earl's door at the moment. But you add all that together, the political neglect, the private ownership, it goes some way to understand how this huge opportunity in the middle of Northern Ireland is largely just lying a toxic wasteland. I don't even want to know what size of spider cast that web up there, but he's not going to go hungry tonight, that lad. This sign looks like it's seen better days, although this does look pretty in the photograph. I also want to know, like, where are we seeing this? The only thing we're seeing that colour down here is probably the water, to be fair. So a little bit more information about Oxford Island. But you can't help then just turn your head and just see that everything else just seems unkept. My goodness, there's a spider web. My face was about to go right through that. I mean, literally, the place is just disgusting. It's so unkept. And I mean, this again, obviously hasn't been in use for a very long time. It says up there, art space. So I assume this was some sort of workshop that at some point was open, but again, just locked up. I'm not going to lie, before I came here today, I was kind of rooting for Lough Neagh. Having not been down here before, I didn't want it to be as grubby and disgusting and smelly as the reports, but unfortunately it is. It is such a shame, but I'm holding out hope. I'm coming back to the car and I'm going to drive on round to the other part and see if it gets any better. I'm not optimistic. Down this way, you'll find the wet grasslands. They've got this huge wild flower meadow just beyond, and there are a few cows out there grazing as well. And round here, and every little nook and cranny, you've got all these little woodland walks as well, which are actually nice for just getting a little bit of exercise and getting the steps in. And they go the whole way around this place for miles and miles. I can't be exactly sure what time this place closes. I'm here early enough not to get locked in, so I'm okay with that. Some of the gates back there say gates locked at 8, some say gates locked at 9. So my advice is get out for 8 if you're coming down during the summer months when there's still daylight in the evening in Northern Ireland, if you're going to be certainly doing any of these scenic walks that kind of loop in and around the water. The Kinnego Bay Hide. Is it open? Place your bets now. I'm going to say no. And I was wrong. Right, it's a bit punchy in here. Little bird watching hut there, a couple of photographers in. There's 2 swans with their young out there at the shoreline too, which was quite nice. But in there is very grubby. Even just opening up sliding up one of the wee windows there, cobwebs everywhere. I mean, if there's ever a place that needs a good power hosing, it's in there. So this is Kinnego Bay Marina down at Lough Neagh on Oxford Island. I ain't cleaning that up, I can tell you. There's a little bit more life down here. Certainly more ducks, family of ducks here, more seagulls, and there's a little bit more in the way of the public too. There's a kids play park over here, more car parking, and there's some buildings I'm going to take a look at over here now as well. So they got a lifeboat station right here on the slipway, and then they've got some stores in here. This one's closed. This one's Sands Marine and South Shore Marine and Diesel. So all sort of boat supply shops and accessories. Nothing that really looks like they do kayak rentals here. Truth be told, I'm just disappointed there's no ice cream shop. Not even ice cream fan down here. Again, another missed opportunity to add to the list, one of many, as I'll come to in my conclusion, having spent a day down here on Lough Neagh. You can't help feel sorry for these poor creatures. Newsflash, survey results are in. The place is absolutely stinking. If you're wondering what sign this is a telltale sign. It's a telltale sign that the problem down here goes beyond what's in the water. Even things like this, which could be sorted out easily. There's no reason for the place to be unkept, untidy, have broken signs, yet it just feels like the will to actually do anything positive here has left the place. I see lots of these blue dragonflies down here, which I've never seen anywhere else before. I'm not sure if they can do anything nasty to you, so I'm keeping a distance. This is how rubbish we are in Northern Ireland. We're just not used to seeing things even like this. But again, I'm wondering, are they supposed to be that colour, or have they been hanging around this water too long? I don't like the way they move so quickly as well, so I don't know if they can do anything nasty to you, but I can imagine that it's probably a good idea to stay away from them, not least because of the environment that they have been living in. These are the fish that live in Lough Neagh: pike, roach, perch, the brown trout, the bream, the salmon, and the eel. Now, what kind of shape they're in these days, that's another story. Looks like we caught an eel, and it's not going without a fight by the looks of it. I suppose you do have to have some degree of sympathy with the staff who maybe work for some of the district councils around Lough Neagh that try to and have to promote this place positively. And I suppose like you can lean into the wildlife aspect of this and it being so photogenic, but really there's no getting away from the main issue that's facing Lough Neagh at the moment. There's some glamping pods down here where we are right now. There's some caravan sites as well. They've got the gallery cafe, which you can have some nice snacks in. You can sit out on these lovely picnic tables, enjoy your food and enjoy the beautiful view of Lough Neagh. What? And see the trawlers still out here around this marina area, scooping all this stuff in. And like, I'm not an expert, I can't tell, you know, how much of this is just natural kind of moss and sort of, I guess, like seaweed or whatever you want to call it. But certainly these sort of deeper, suspicious blobs of foamy green, that would give me cause for concern. You can see just again more of these sort of random pipes just leading in here. And even over here, like, this is just absolutely disgusting. Like, what the hell is all of that? Well, thanks for joining us down here at Lough Neagh at Oxford Island today. I really had hoped for the video to not be as, well, negative I suppose as it has been, but it's hard to get away from the severe problems, and you can see it and smell it firsthand when you come and visit the shores of Lough Neagh. Unfortunately, it's everywhere, and that's compounded with just then how unkept the place feels. And I'm sure local council districts and the staff and the people who work down here are doing their absolute best, but it feels like, well, the political will doesn't exist to sort this place out and to realise its full potential. It's going to be very difficult for people to make real meaningful change to this. And I think that's part of the problem, and it's why I've come down today and feel a little bit sad, because it's such a huge resource and a huge opportunity for Northern Ireland with massive potential. I know people from further afield who have seen on a map this huge body of water in Northern Ireland, and they say it must be great to have something like that in your country. The kids must be down in the water playing, and there's water sports and boating and jet skiing and kayaking and tourism and all that kind of stuff that you would have normally around big bodies of water. I think as long as this is in limbo, and it's privately owned, as I mentioned earlier as well, and the accountability isn't there and the political will isn't there, despite the Northern Ireland Assembly saying it's still with them and it's still under review as to what they're going to do and what the future holds for Lough Neagh, for the time being, it just feels like things are just going to probably get worse down here, unfortunately. It's such a shame. As always, thank you for watching. Don't forget to leave a comment if you've any suggestions on where we should be heading up next, anywhere across Northern Ireland, further afield, or even on our travels to America. We've got plenty more Florida and Vegas content on this channel as well for you to check out. I always appreciate the like, the subscribe, and hit the alarm bell so you never miss a video again. But for now, from Lough Neagh at Oxford Island in Armagh, I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.